Alright, welcome back. Let's talk blades, because that's what we're into. Today, another Spyderco. I'm sorry, I'm a Spyderco fanboy. I love Spyderco. Spyderco is just... It tickles my fancy, what can I say? It's just one of those knife companies that kind of has me by the balls at times. I love what they come out with. It's one of my favorite companies, so... self-defense knives. These are my Spyderco self-defense knives. I have a couple other ones that are not in this video because I'd like to do a different video on them. But these are in the video simply because they have the Endura handle scales. So these are in a category of their own because of the fact that they have the very familiar Endura handle scale shapes to them. So the other self-defense knives I will obviously get to later on. But for right now, I have these to show you guys, and I'm actually kind of happy to have them. They always give me a sense of protection anytime I'm kind of in a shady place, or if I'm in an area where I know I probably have the least amount of confidence. These are just nice to have, and in suggestion if you're looking for a self-defense knife, because these are only single-purpose driven knives, these three, and maybe a couple other ones that I have. They're not meant for EDC. I mean, of course you could use them to open up mail or cut meat, but they're not designed for that. The shape and the way that they are designed is meant for one thing only, and that's self-defense. So if you're interested, you come to the right video, I guess. So this middle one, as you can tell, is different from these two right here. These two have the Emerson Wave, here and here. And what that's meant for, if you don't already know, I've talked about them a lot in my videos. You pull it out your pocket, as long as it's up to the very back of your seam of your pocket. You pull it out, and it deploys the knife faster than any switchblade, making it readily available at a moment's notice. So that's what this is, and of course the Emerson patent number that's on there to prove that this is the Emerson Wave, designed by Ernie Emerson, and Spyderco is kind of left-hand use of this being on their items. So you pull this out the pocket, and it pops it open. Sorry, I knocked the tripod there for a minute. And yeah, so these three are the Spyderco Matriarch 2 models with the Endura handle scales. Very comfortable, get a full grip on there, and it's kind of got that one of my buddies coined it as the elephant trunk, full Spidey edge. These are very, very intimidating knives. You were to pull this out and somebody were to see it, yeah, this would be kind of a scary thing to look at. You might make them pee a little, but it's very, very, very sharp, very dangerous knives. But yeah, single purpose, meaning they're meant for one thing only, and that's self-defense. I've probably already said that, so excuse me. If you noticed, there is no jimping on the back right here, because this knife is not meant for thrusting. What it's meant for is slashing. And I've seen this knife go through leather, and there was someone who put like some sort of stake underneath that piece of leather, resembling, you know, like the leather being someone's leather jacket and the stake being someone's flesh, cutting through it. It cut through it pretty deep. It actually went so deep that it went onto the cutting board itself. And yeah, this thing is mean. This thing is really mean. Of course, Spyderco VG10 steel. And yes, Seki City, Japan. I have carried this one a lot. As you can tell, the pocket clip's a little bit marred up. It has the Boyd dent, on the lock, on the back lock, spine lock. Yes, it does have some steel liners in there, but they are milled out for weight reduction, as you can see. All three of them have it. These are not cheap. You're looking at anywhere a little over $100 for each of them. This one's the all black version, the same exact thing of that, it's just all blacked out. So it's really nice. This one's got a little bit of wear to it, obviously. When I got it, it was full black. It was so cool. Screws are black, the hardware's black. I just switched the pocket clip because I wanted to carry a normal knife on the other pocket, so this one can be used for self-defense. So this one was on the opposite pocket where I keep my wallet. So if someone was like, "Yeah, give me your wallet," and I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, pull this out," you know. Of course, I would hope and pray that I would never have to do that. I don't want to ever pull a weapon unless it's my last resort. But yet again, it's the same thing. Spyderco VG10, Seki City, Japan, Emerson patent number for the wave. And of course, if you don't want to use the wave, then make sure that you pull this thing away from the back seam of your pocket and pull it out so you can use the spider hole as such if you want to do it that way. Or if you don't want to use this hook at all and you don't want the hook at all and you're not a hook wave guy, then get this one, because this one is literally the same thing, just without the Emerson wave. Spyderco Matriarch 2, it has just the thumb hole, so you can pop it open as such and use it for the hacky slashy rippy teary type thing. It's the same thing, same construction. The only difference is it doesn't have the Emerson wave, which makes this knife a little bit cheaper. I think when I bought this knife it was like 75 or 80 bucks, and then these two were a little over $100 each when I bought them. So the Emerson wave does make a difference in the price because they obviously have to pay Ernie Emerson to use that hook or to use that wave on their knives. So it's going to be a little bit more than just your regular Matriarch. But this design was intended for, I believe it was intended for law enforcement that was not able, or anybody that's of military or law enforcement that was not able to go in a place with a firearm. And this was meant as something that they can take in with them and use as self-defense because they couldn't use their firearms. So if they had to enter a building or enter a place that doesn't require firearms, they would have these on them. Of course, the more effective one to use for that would be one of these. Even more effective would be non-reflective, which would be this. So it would be less able to be detected from a distance anyways. So the glimmer of that doesn't shine on this other than the teeth. And by that point, if you're using this to cut something, the last thing you'll see is that. So it's actually kind of cool. A little backstory on that. I'm sure there's more to it than that, or I might have left out a detail or two, or maybe I might be slightly off. Either way, if you want to look it up, you can. But the intention behind these knives were strictly for self-defense in places where you're not able to carry a firearm. So that's the gist of that story anyways. If you're interested in it, go ahead and look it up. I got all three of these on Amazon. This one was being the cheapest because it doesn't have the Emerson wave on it. But let's go ahead and get into specs. I know you guys are probably wondering how much they weigh, more or less how much they cost. Alright, so 3.51 ounces on the blacked out version, non-Emerson wave, 3.52 ounces, and the regular 3.47 ounces. Weird. Alright, and of course, we'll go ahead and do the measurements on there. With a 3.5-inch blade, overall almost close to 8.5 inches, but a little bit over, maybe like 8.25. With the handle size being 5 inches. And you guys already saw that it has milled out liners in there for weight reduction. That's always nice. And of course, why not? We'll do thickness. It'd be the same thing for the Endura models, so this isn't going to be too far off. 10.8 millimeters on the handle, and on the blade you're looking at 2.7 millimeters. So, you know, and I'm sure it's the same thing with those two because they're practically the same. Yes, these do... Oh! Drop that one on the floor. These do cut. They do cut, but they do more ripping and tearing than anything else, and it is crazy sharp, because it is the spider edge, so anything with spider edge is going to be kind of devastating. So, if you're interested in these, go ahead and look them up. I might do a separate video. I might buy some meat later and then hang it on like a string or a rope and then demonstrate how these things cut. I'm not going to do that anytime too soon because I'm still just doing my review on all the knives I have before I actually make that decision. But till then, let me know what you guys think. If you're interested in them, look them up, man. Amazon. You know, if you're trying to find a good self-defense knife, these are those knives. My suggestion, though, if you do get one of these knives, try to carry around a normal utility knife, because this is not going to make a very good utility knife. And I'm not saying that it won't cut. It will. But if you try to use this as a utility blade, you run the really high risk of damaging the tips of these knives, including the serrations. And one of my buddies actually bought one of these knives, and he uses it for everything, and he broke it. He actually broke off the tip to where he had to round it off like a normal knife around about this area, because this part of that tip broke off. So he had to kind of like shape it out like a normal knife, which was stupid. It made it look terrible. It just made it look like a piece of junk because it wasn't designed for that. But he still uses it to this day. And I've seen it, and I feel so sorry for that knife. It's been through better times, but it wasn't designed to be an everyday carry knife. It is designed for single intention of self-defense. So if you do decide to get this knife, I implore you, please get a utility knife, something small like a dragonfly, or maybe even like a utility tool, multi-tool of some kind, like a Swiss Army knife or something, because this isn't going to make a good EDC for just everyday use. Unless you're cutting soft things like boxes or your mail, then I guess you're fine. But if you're, doing harder work than you're supposed to with it, then I'm pretty sure you're going to damage it. Anyways, that's enough of that. I'll see you guys in the next one.